Welcome everyone. This is the USMLE Sarthi team. My name is Pavan Khera and I'm joined by Swati from our team. So today the primary focus is the interview day and beyond. So what do you need on the interview day? What do you need to prepare for the interview? And then the post interview communication. Of course, we'll have more webinars as we get closer to the season. But let's get started here, and then, of course, we'll take Q&A. As you all know, the interview process actually begins from the time you get the invite. So after you get the invite, you got to maintain that professional etiquette at all time. And you never know whether it's your email or other form of communication that can impact and influence the interview. And communication, of course, whether it is digital or in person, is the most effective in the interview. The other thing as you start preparing for the interview day is to step in the shoes of the program director and think of what a program director may be looking for. Why should a program director select you? While scores are important, they will continue to be important throughout the match. It is the other aspects of the interview that is important as well. And we will go over some of the questions which you are very familiar with. But then also is the post-interview communication. So one is, of course, emailing thank you after the interview, but that's not the end. A lot will happen after the interview, but before the rank order deadline. So whether it is, trying to maintain that connectivity program, trying to send that letter of intent, all that to make sure that the program ranks you higher. Some of the things you are already aware of, the PS and CV are already done, submitted, you cannot change it. So make sure that each and everything on your PS and CV you're comfortable with. Good or bad, you really need to know everything about your PS and CV. Make sure to build a rapport with the residents during the interview day, whether it is meet a resident or lunch meeting with them or otherwise. Of course, dress as if you were going for an in-person interview, and we have certain other blogs as well which talk about the dressing for the interview day. Formal dress, neat and clean appearance. Then comes, of course, your audio, video, the internet, and the background. The hardware, the laptop is important. Of course, most interviews, 99% are virtual even now. Check the camera. So external camera is something we always recommend, especially if you are not using a Mac. High-speed internet goes without saying. Make sure that you go over the content themes that you're going to be discussing, the tone of your voice, the body language, all of that is important. Don't take interviews on your phones. That really can be a deal breaker for you guys. So have a laptop or a Mac. iPads also are not recommended. Then the next thing is we were asked what are the top questions that you should be prepared for. And our website has a link to some of the questions. Of course, we go over more than 80 questions during our classes, but very briefly, the questions that you absolutely must prepare. Tell me something about yourself or some variation of this question. How can I help you? Those kind of things. Why did you select this program? That is very important. Why do you want to come to this program? Why this specialty? Some of the core questions. Most interviews are going to be behavioral. So talking about your hobbies, volunteering is very important. Some programs may not ask you directly, but your strengths. Now, this you have to come up with examples. Examples could be clinical, examples could be from other aspects of your professional career, even from extracurricular. They may not ask you directly what are your strengths, what are your improvements, what are you working on to improve, which is basically the weakness. Again, having an example to substantiate these kind of questions is very important. What do you think you can add to our program? Very, very important. This is where the programs are checking the fit to the program. Whatever you have mentioned in your PS and CV, using your US clinical experiences, research, or work experiences, what will you add to the program? That's something they definitely want to know. Research is becoming increasingly important. So about your research, about your role in a particular research project, as you may have seen it, is also very important. And then they could have scenario-based questions. So, tell me a time when you interacted with a difficult patient, a difficult peer, or your colleague, a difficult attending, a non-compliant patient, those, so on and so forth. And then, of course, they could throw a scenario out and say, how will you deal with it? So there are a lot of questions like this. I encourage you to go to our website. In fact, we have classes as well. And that also reminds me, we are running a Thanksgiving offer for those of you who understand the US system. This is the Thanksgiving week. So there are Thanksgiving offers, discounted interview preparation, research, rotations. We have discounts on that. And Swati can put those links, and you can take a look if you are interested. Then the other thing we get asked is, what should we ask the residents during the interview day? So a couple of things to be aware of. One is during the day when you interact with the PD, or when there are presentations, when they talk about the program, make a note of that. You don't want to be repeating the information that has already been given to you. So ask questions which are not clear to you, which was not on the website, or were not discussed. So to the residents, of course, you could definitely ask, what do they like about the program? Why did they actually rank this program? That's an important one, or rank it high enough. Then you can talk about life in and around the hospital. Where do they live? What do they do for fun? Cost of living in that particular city, because most of you would be doing virtual interviews. You may not have visited the city. You can talk to residents about the faculty members, the teaching, away electives, didactics, some of those things. And many of these questions are relevant to the faculty as well during the interview. So remember that when they ask you, do you have any questions for us? The answer always has to be yes, and then you can ask some of these questions. Then we talk about the post-interview strategy. So in this, the good idea would be to follow what the program tells you. If the program tells you do not indulge in any post-interview communication, don't do that. If you've discussed with the program that you're going to be doing this rotation next month, obviously they will make a note, and you should be letting them know once you do that rotation. Same goes for step 3. If you have discussed with the program that you're doing step 3 in December, they will expect that you give them an update. So this all creates a positive impact on the program, and your chances of matching is very high then. The other question we get is, many programs will encourage you to have a on-site visit or quote unquote second visit. Now the second visit can be virtual as well. Second visit is more relaxed than a formal interview, but of course you need to maintain all the etiquette that you did in the formal interview. You will have the opportunity, if you go on site, to create an impression on the program director, faculty, maybe go on morning round. So second visits are important, and if you like a program, you should ask for it. And if a program encourages you, then definitely consider it. So that's one thing. Remember that your interview performance, your overall profile, including scores, and the fit to the program will determine your match and the program's rank order list. Then finally, and we'll have a webinar on this later on as well, is the letter of intent. So letter of intent would be something you send out in late January, early Feb, where you kind of convince the program that you're going to rank them higher, number one, etc. And this is your quote unquote the final push for the program. How you do it, whether it's an email, physical letter, obviously we'll talk about it. But the letter of intent has been becoming important. Most IMGs do send it, and they send it to the program director as a way to communicate your interest in the program. So those are some of the questions that we received on the interview day, the post-interview communication, and how do you get the best out of the interview season. Now, of course, we can open up for questions, and I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of something. So just as we open up, I've just posted a poll so that it'll give us a sense of what questions you may have about the interviews. How many interviews do you have? What are the challenges you're facing? So I'll keep it up for a minute, and then we'll take your questions. So take a look at this poll, and then you can start asking questions as well. And I'll keep the poll up, and I will ask or answer the questions. So the first question is letter of intent. What should be written in the letter of intent? So we will have, like I said, a separate webinar on letter of intent. We will, for our students, we'll have a class as well. Letter of intent is what it shows it is. It is your intent to convey to the program that you're going to be ranking them number one. So you talk about why you like the program, how you are a fit to the program, and that having visited other programs or interviewed at other programs, you feel that this program will be the right fit. So we'll talk about letter of intent in a separate webinar in January. If we are interviewing at a new program, what else can we do to stand out, since we'll be the first batch and no senior resident? So that's a good question. A new program has a lot of flexibility. You can talk about if you've been mentoring, if you've been teaching, because they will look for help in revising or updating their curriculum. They will look for best practices that you may have learned at other programs. If you have a home country residency, some of the leadership that they will look for, because they will also look for you to work with other residents, maybe even med school students. So think about mentorship, think about how your experiences maybe in teaching others can help them. Question, what about hand gestures? If I feel confident, then is it okay to do a hand movement, it is absolutely fine, as long as you don't overdo it. There's not a problem with the hand movements. Other question now, this is a very common question. If the faculty and the PD or the PD who interviewed you reply to your thank you email, is it a good sign, and how to stay in touch with them? So it's always a good sign, but don't read too much into it. Like you go to every program and you tell them that this is the best program and you really love them and you will be excited to work there. They're doing the same. So don't read too much into the thank you email. It's a courtesy that they do. You may be on their rank order list very high, but who knows? Now, how to stay in touch with them? The idea of staying in touch with the programs is important. So you could keep them updated with other rotations. Maybe you're doing some research, any updates on your publication, step 3, so on and so forth. So there are other ways, of course, to keep in touch, but these are some of the most important ways that you can keep in touch with the program. Okay, so just on the polls, so many of you have between 1 and 5 interviews. Some of you are still waiting for the interviews. So for those of you who are waiting for the interviews, the suggestion would be to very, very aggressively follow up with the programs. You can obviously email them. A lot of our students are calling the program. So the idea would be you still have about a month. The next wave of interviews is about to start. It'll start in December after this Thanksgiving break. The number of interviews or invites that go out depends on the cancellation. So this is one of the disadvantages, if you will, of virtual interviews, that people don't cancel the interviews. And pre-COVID and whenever they start with the on-site interviews, as you all know, going to the interviews costs money, the flight, the Airbnb or hotel, etc. But virtual interviews do not cost anything, so applicants don't cancel it. Therefore, how many interviews you get or as part of the second wave or third wave, we'll have to wait and see how the cancellation process goes. Should we ask if the program is fine with a second visit? Whom should we ask, whether it's a PD or faculty or program coordinator? So in most cases, it is going to be the program coordinator that will tell you if you ask, but sometimes the program director also. So either the program director or the coordinator is fine. Where to send the holiday cards to the program? You can send it to the program coordinator, or of course, you can send it to the faculty. They all have the mailbox. So, if you have the hospital address or the address of the department, that will be fine. Is there any benefit of being in the city we are interviewing at virtually? Yes, of course. You can always let them know you are in the city and you would love an opportunity to visit the program. That will definitely help you. Okay, so what other questions can I answer? I think I answered most of the questions. Okay, when to ask for second visit? I think December would be a good time. The expectation is that by December you would have visited a few programs and now you're ready for a second visit. So anytime in December or January, most programs work on their rank order list in Feb. So December or Jan would be a good time to ask for a second visit. Can a program director see our rank order list? The answer is no. The program director or anyone in the program cannot see your rank order list. So rank order list, we do have a lot of videos on how the rank order list works. take a look on our YouTube channel, and maybe Swati, you can point them to the YouTube channel. There will be a lot of confusion many of you may have on the rank order list. So probably we'll have another webinar on how to create your rank order list, because this is one of the questions. Can they see your rank order list? The answer is no. Should you be influenced by the program feedback on where you rank that program? Probably not. You go by your own gut, and they will do their own stuff. So they cannot see your rank order list. All right, let me see what other question. Can I see more? Can I send more than one letter of intent? It's purely up to you. It is not illegal, but the ethics is up to you. You can send it to 2, 3, 4, however number of programs. Remember, the ethical part is up to you. Can 10 minutes interviews actually evaluate anyone? It's too short, and what are they looking for? Excellent question, and the answer is yes. The programs have, over the years, they have been evaluating students, and even in pre-COVID, the interviews were, especially internal medicine, for example, were 10, 12 minutes each. So yes, they can evaluate. Scores is just one criteria, right? And you will see that they are evaluating you on your ability to work in teams. Some of them will evaluate you on your clinical knowledge, but most of them will not have the medical questions. They will evaluate you on your ability to empathize or connect with the patient. So what they are expecting is you discuss your experiences, whether it's the USC or other experiences, and from those experiences, they pull out the information, they pull out the traits or the skills they are looking for. Can you work in teams? Can you connect with patients? Can you mentor others? Are you flexible enough to be trainable? So those kind of things is what they are evaluating. Other question, I interviewed about 15 to 20 days ago. Is it okay to send thank you email now? Will they remember me? So you can always send thank you email at any point, but in general, the thank you email should have been sent within 48 hours of the interview. Whether they will remember you or not, they will obviously have a list of students they interviewed, and if you did well, they will remember you. I think it's okay to send a thank you email now, or you can send a holiday message or greeting or a card. So that's on that. Other questions? That also reminds me, for those of you who are interested, we have our ambassador program open. So whether you are applying for next season or you would want to work with us, just if you have some time, we'll be happy to evaluate your CV and PS, and if you have, and we can work with you. You can put it as work experience, volunteer experience, whatever. So if you are interested, send us your profile, and maybe Swati can, I think she's already done that. So look at the campus ambassador link that is posted, and we'll be happy to take a look if you are interested. All right, other questions that you may have about this interview season, and for those of you who are going into the match next season, or maybe waiting for the interviews. Based on previous seasons, how much percentage of the total interviews do people receive by the end of November? Very good question. I think about 75 to 80% of your interviews you would have already received. So the rest will depend on the cancellations. Most programs would have sent out the first round of interviews. Now if they have spots open, if some people cancel, or they may open more spots just in case they don't find good applicants in the first round. But I would say about 75 to 80% of your interviews have been given out. How to ask for second visit? Is it during the interview or post-interview? It depends on the flow. You can ask during the interview or post-interview is fine. You can try asking it after the interview as well. How many programs on an average should we apply to? So this is slightly late in the season if you're still considering applying to the programs. But depending on the profile, depending on the specialty, for example, internal medicine visa seeking applicant, on an average, 175 programs typically they apply to. Given the current match agreement, can we visit the program before match day or visit after the interview? It all depends on what the program is open to. If they're open to your visit before, of course, match day, you should. After the interview, again, it depends on the program. It's not a violation. They can always host you. So, and Swati, thank you. She has posted a link to the blog for second visit. So take a look at this blog. This is on our website as well. Other question, can I use my work email to send thank you and letter of intent emails instead of the email mentioned on my ERA CV? The answer is yes, absolutely, and you should. So let's say you're working at Cleveland Clinic or Mayo Clinic or wherever, right? Using those emails ID is absolutely fine. You do not have to use the email mentioned in the ERA CV because they already have your AMC ID and they invited you for the interview. Other questions? Anything else that we can answer? For those of you who are looking for either tele-rotations or other rotations during the season to improve your profile, many of our rotations do have discounts on fee during this season, as this is slightly slow and Thanksgiving. So take a look at that as well. How to stand out in a 15-minute interview? Very important question, because in the end, you want to stand out, you want to differentiate yourself from other applicants. And I think if I were to give you just one advice, would be your experiences, your examples, your stories is what is going to grab the attention. If you've had, say, COVID related experience, working under stress, working in resource constraint environment, bring out those stories. It's not enough to say that, I was on an inpatient duty in COVID and the first wave, second wave, and it was very hard. Tell them how you dealt with it, how you led a team or were part of the team, so on and so forth. So your stories in all aspects, whether it's a USCE, research, your work experience, those matter quite a bit. Can I reschedule my interview, and if how? So yes, you can reschedule. I think they are all aware that you may be having conflict. So once in a while, there's not a problem. You can reschedule. Now, different programs have different policies. So you have to check and what their policy on reschedule is. If you get interviews in far off states and on consecutive days. So of course, interviews, I'm assuming you're doing virtual. If you're doing virtual, then wherever the interviews are, it should not be a problem. Many students do take consecutive days interview, but of course, if you need to reschedule, you could. Is there any advice for meet and greet session with residents that is generally held virtually? Yes, so I went over some questions you can ask the residents. So, life in the city, how do they manage their work-life schedule? Those kind of things you can all ask the residents. That's fine. This is your way to know more about the program. So, as long as you don't stay completely quiet and you don't hog all the limelight, if you behave professionally in meet and greet, you should be fine. But do remember that residents are asked of their opinion of the applicants. So they will factor into the feedback. Do program directors of different programs internally discuss their rank order list? The answer is no. Program directors do not discuss with each other their rank order list. It's a privacy issue. I think that was mostly it in terms of today's session and the questions, but let me take one last question. Handwritten thank you mail alone will be fine, or souvenirs will overdo? Souvenirs will definitely overdo. So you don't want to do souvenirs. I don't think that is expected or asked for. The cards should be good enough. All right, that was all, and I'll keep the session open for a couple of minutes if you want to grab the links, and we'll see you in one of the webinars in the coming weeks. Of course, we do have every Friday on Instagram Live, so you can catch me and discuss on Instagram Live. And for our students, we are starting every Friday and Wednesday sessions on the interview and your questions as well. So if you are our student, look out for the information that will be sent out tomorrow. Thank you, and good luck for the rest of the season.